So you're looking to move to Raleigh in 2025. In today's video, I'm going to cover the 4 places that I recommend the most, and I'm going to base it off of the amenities and lifestyle, the housing options, and then also the job opportunities that are nearby. For those who don't know me, I'm Domingo from eXp Realty, and I've been deep diving neighborhoods recently and figured that I'd make this video to compile all my main takeaways for you. So with that, let's get started. So first, let's talk about Northwest Raleigh, which is where we're at right now to film this video. Now, Northwest Raleigh is one of my favorite simply because it's one of the most balanced of the neighborhoods. Whether it be amenities, housing options, or the broader job market, it really caters to all types of buyers, or renters really at that. So the way I would define Northwest Raleigh amenities more specifically is saying that it is amenity rich, but low walking scores. So as long as you have a car, you could pretty much hit most things up in a 5 to 10 minute commute. I did a video last week at Towns of Umstead, and from there to get to the North Carolina Museum of Art is about 10 minutes, and also to get to the Research Triangle Park, that's also 10 minutes. My personal favorites with Northwest Raleigh is the Triangle Rock Club and Umstead Park. The main reasons for that is because I like rock climbing, which Triangle Rock Club's the predominant gym here, and then Umstead Park because I like running and trails. And so within 5 minutes, or even less in some cases, you have access to a full-blown park. Because it's also central relative to the Triangle, it has equal access to downtown Raleigh and Durham, but also the Research Triangle Park, which is the main driver for jobs in this area. But it also has decent amenities like box yard. And then like I mentioned with the housing market, it really caters to all options. For example, last week, I showed a townhome that is well below the median sales price. But also, right before I went on my run, I showed you a home that would run for over $1 million. And so this is great from an affordability perspective, but also if you plan on planning routes somewhere and not changing, for example, like your kid's school district every time you move, then Northwest Raleigh is really good for that because you could buy an entry-level home, upgrade to average sales price home, and then even retire in a luxury home, right? That's all in one area, which also means the amenities that are offered to the luxury homes are also offered to the intro-level homes. And as far as the major employers, for Northwest Raleigh, it's Lenovo, SAS Institute, and Duke Health. And even though Duke is primarily located in Durham, it has a pretty steady footprint in the Triangle, which gives access to Northwest Raleigh. And then of course, for those who don't know, Lenovo is a major player in the Triangle area. They specialize in tech, computers, mobile devices, cloud services, things like that. But they're also a major sponsor of amenities in the area, AKA the Lenovo Center, which hosts a lot of the games. And then SAS is technically in Cary, but again, because Northwest Raleigh enjoys the privilege of being centrally located, it has pretty easy access to it. And so these 3 major employers really paints the picture of the Triangle, which is tech and medical. For the second area that I recommend the most for 2025, it's historic Oakwood and its surrounding areas. And this is just my opinion, but out of all the places that you can live in Raleigh, historic Oakwood has the most charm. Even compared to other historic districts in Raleigh, it's the last neighborhood that's maintained 19th century Victorian architecture. In addition to that, the streets are lined with oak trees, giving it charm and character. As far as amenities and lifestyle, it has one of the best walkability scores out of the places I'm covering today. Now, to be a little bit more specific, it's very easy to get your steps in, and a lot of amenities are within 1 mile walking distance. But it's not like you're having a walkability score of, I'm just gonna walk for 2 minutes and be in a cafe. Although, actually, depending on where you live, that's doable in historic Oakwood. But what I mean is it's very easy to get outside, and it's very easy to walk around, bike around, jog, things of that nature. Because it's also close to downtown, you get to enjoy all of those amenities, and so it makes it very close to the convention center. And then one of my favorite amenities that's really up and coming is Raleigh Ironworks. That's sort of like a live, shop, play area, and has a lot of focus on the adult demographic. There's things like several indoor pickleball courts coming, bowling, the newest rock climbing gym, breweries, things of that nature. And in terms of housing options, most of the stuff ranges from the average sales price all the way up to luxury. So it's a bit on the pricier side. It's really hard to find an entry-level home, although it's doable if you find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. But other than that, you could expect to pay as much as $850,000. The houses look great. They are on the older side, but you're definitely paying for location on this one. The only exception is if you go to some of the neighboring areas, then you could probably find housing for around $500,000. The amount of house you're getting for that is obviously going to be less than going to a suburb. And then since historic Oakwood is going to be located right next to downtown, a lot of the jobs are going to be government focused. Now there is a Wake Med campus that's probably, I would say, like a 5-minute drive from there. So that's definitely going to be an option as well. But besides retail, you're predominantly going to see the government jobs. There are some banking jobs since it's downtown. And then of course for the government jobs, it's worth mentioning that because Raleigh is the state capital, you're going to get both city jobs and state jobs. So it's actually a bit more diverse than just being in like a township government job. Moving on to my third most recommended area for 2025 is Midtown. Midtown is also commonly referred to as North Hills, except North Hills is technically a little bit bigger, whereas Midtown specifically often refers to the Midtown Park. This area made the list because it is one of the most modern developments in Raleigh, and it is often known as a work, live, fun area. So it's sort of similar to the Raleigh Ironworks that I mentioned earlier, except applied to an entire community. Now, if you live immediately within Midtown Park, then I would say it has the highest walking score of all the places. But if you don't live within Midtown Park, which honestly, if you're buying a detached single-family residence, you're not going to, then you will need a car. Regardless, outside of all of that, the heart of Midtown has a lot of retail stores, coffee shops, restaurants, and employers. Usually if somebody were to ask me, like, what's a good area for young professionals, this is what comes to my mind. Now, as far as housing options, plenty of places to rent, but for buying, they tend to range from the average sales price to luxury. It's very common to see older homes bought, literally demolished completely, and then built up into a luxury home. That being said, there are still budget-friendly options to own, for example, if you were to go with a condo or a townhome. And as far as jobs, Midtown is pretty loaded, especially because of the retail space that's down there. But you're gonna see a few headquarters, things like Advanced Auto Parts headquarters. You're gonna see a lot of medical. So Duke has another site near there, UNC Rex is there, and also Wake Med. So it's very heavy on the medical side. And just within Midtown Park, I remember seeing a lot of banks as well. Depending on where you choose to live and where you end up working, you could even just walk to work. And then the last Raleigh area on this list is Cameron Village. Depending on where you live, you could get to NC State within 3 to 5 minutes, and you get to downtown also within 3 to 5 minutes. This area is centered around the Cameron Village Shopping Center, which is the oldest outdoor shopping center in North Carolina. Might actually be in the southeast. I don't know, I'd actually have to fact check that one. This area is a mix of modern and historical. It's often a spot that has a lot of atriums and music events, local events, art events, things like that. But also in terms of walking score, it has the most well-rounded. You could fairly feasibly get around with walking, or actually one of my favorite clips in one of my past videos that I missed the first time around is longboarding. So if you're brave enough, you can do what this guy's doing and longboard wherever it is you're going. Make sure I don't hit him. The southern side being the main campus, but Hillsborough. Cameron Village often has some of the highest concentration of luxury homes, but similar to Midtown, if you go with a attached housing style, then you could actually buy things within a more affordable rate. And like I mentioned with new construction, just like before, a lot of times these older homes are getting bought out outright and destroyed, and with entire new luxury homes built on top of them. I would say this is like the most unique area for that, because I would walk down entire streets where this was happening. And then of course, as major employers go, you would assume NC State. There's also First Citizens Bank, and then the Village District itself. Now, because Cameron Village is also on the west side of Raleigh, it means it has easy access to Cary, one of the most popular in-demand areas rivaling Chapel Hill. So what that means is you could still live in Raleigh, have access to downtown, and be very close to Cary, which, depending on what type of work you do, could be very valuable. One last thing I forgot to mention is it has access to one of the biggest farmers markets that are here. A lot of people go there, a lot of people love it. I think it's open year-round and just a little bit more in demand certain times of the season. Because all these neighborhoods have housing options generally ranging from mid-cost to high cost, let's talk about some alternatives. This is not a good fit for you. So if you still want access to Raleigh and the Greater Triangle at a much more affordable price, then my recommendation is go to any of the suburbs. Recently, I did a video on Fuquay Varina, which is one of the most popular areas, and I literally compared the cost of one home with the same characteristics in Raleigh to a same home, but in Fuquay. And you could very quickly shave off even $100K, debatably even more, and for a new construction home. Besides Fuquay, you have other areas like Holly Springs being one of the most popular. You're gonna have Morrisville. And in terms of securing equity, your best bets are actually gonna be Knightdale and Wake Forest, because those have the highest development rates. Now, I would say the one trick if you are gonna go with one of the suburban routes is plan ahead on where you're actually gonna be working. Because let's say you decide, oh, I'm gonna go for something cheaper and live in Nightdale, but you end up working in Chapel Hill. Like, that's a pretty obnoxious drive, even upwards to a 1 hour travel time just to get over there. And then conversely, if you're gonna be working down in the Cary area, then perhaps going to somewhere like Holly Springs is gonna be a lot more efficient than, let's say, living in Wake Forest. Now, the lifestyle in all these places, each of them, because of the high development in the triangle, are investing in their own downtown atmospheres and all of their own commercial amenities. So that way, it decreases the dependence on constantly having to travel to Raleigh for everything. And then it only feels fair to mention that just know if you're gonna go to any of these areas, they all suffer from urban sprawl, and it's probably only gonna get worse. And what I mean by that specifically is that road infrastructure is just gonna increasingly get more and more and more stressed. I live pretty much in historic Oakwood. Just to get to Wake Forest on, let's say, a Friday at 3 p.m. will easily double the trip duration. Obviously, it just means more driving typically. That wraps up today's video. If you want to see a neighborhood in particular, then comment below. I will gladly go film it, constantly looking for new ideas. But if not, it still helps to follow me as I cover more neighborhoods like this. The goal is to give you in-depth and tangible information if you're looking to move here, whether it be to buy or to rent. And then of course, if you're looking to buy and sell, reach out. My contact information is always in the description or on my channel page. With that, thanks for watching. See you next week.